back to Blue Collar Outdoors TV. On today's video, we are talking all about how to shoot a compound bow. This is going to be a beginner's intro into actually how to shoot a compound bow. So if you're new to archery, please watch this video. I'm going to show you how to actually go through, make sure you have the right draw weight, the right draw length. We're going to talk about stance, grip, your pull, how to anchor. We're going to talk about the different aiming techniques. And guys, if you like this type of stuff, please hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel. That way you can get more videos like this every single week. And guys, hit that notification bell and let's get going with this video. So the very first thing you need to take into consideration before you even start shooting your bow is once you pick up your bow, make sure it is tuned and good to go, because you're not going to be able to effectively shoot your bow if this thing isn't tuned properly. And make sure you take it to a bow technician and actually have them tune this up. Make sure it's shooting through the paper consistent every time, and that is going to make it a lot easier to get it set up for you. Okay, with that being said, make sure they set up a good draw weight for you. Your draw weight should be pretty easy. It shouldn't be too hard where you're actually having to go up here and pull down. You shouldn't be pulling too excessively hard. It should be pretty easy. That way you can shoot a lot and not get wore out and have fun doing it. And then that's going to translate right over to you going out in the woods and actually successfully taking down game, if that is your end goal. Once you get the draw weight where you need it, then you're going to settle in a draw length. Good draw length is going to allow you to have a good anchor point, and it's going to be a natural length for you when you're at full draw. Your draw length should be comfortable. It shouldn't be too far back here where your release hand is way behind your head, and it shouldn't be too far forward where your arm is completely bent like this and you're really close. Okay, it should be pretty natural. If you do decide to do all of this at home, which guys, I've done this before, you know, especially as a kid growing up, I didn't have a lot of money, so I had to actually do all this by myself. I've had a lot of hand-me-down bows that's already been set up for somebody else. Guys, it still works. I've killed deer with other bows that I've had that the draw length was way too far, whatever. Just make sure you're doing it in a safe manner. Make sure that bow is safe first. And you know, you can still go out and do all of this stuff, guys, I promise you, without having the bow set up perfect, okay? You guys out there that like everything perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Just get out there, have fun, make sure it works, practice with it, and I guarantee you can be accurate with whatever you have, okay? Yes, it makes it a lot nicer having something that's perfectly tuned, but at the end of the day, you don't have to necessarily have that to get into archery, okay? Setting up your draw weight, on most bows, all you have to do is tighten or loosen these Allen keys on the top of the limb pockets, and that's typically the only place you're gonna have to actually adjust this. So this bow goes from 60 to 70 pounds. So when you order a bow, make sure it's a bow that you can actually pull back. So if you know you're not gonna be able to pull 60 or 70, go for a 50 or 60. Okay? And then your draw weight can be adjusted on most bows now without even using a bow press. So you can do this at home. All you have to do is pretty much remove these little modules here, and you can slide that around. And this is how it is on a lot of newer bows. You don't even have to take bows to a bow tech hardly anymore, because everything is so adjustable just by doing it by yourself at home. Now that we've talked about the draw weight and getting the draw length set up, now we can actually start talking about the actual shooting stance, which is a big part of actually being accurate when you're out here trying to shoot your bow. Okay, the first thing I'm doing is getting my feet shoulder width apart, and also I'm going to take my back foot and actually bring it out in front of my front foot about 6 inches. Okay, so imagine there's a line going from toe to toe. I'm gonna bring that rear foot up about 6 inches. Okay guys, now that we've talked about the stance where we want our back foot about 6 inches off the center line from the front foot, and about shoulder width apart, you know, kind of like an athletic stance, getting the shoulder width apart, that's gonna set us up for success when we're actually trying to launch these arrows. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is grip. Okay, most grips are gonna look something like this, and it's not what you would think. Like, we think of a grip, most people think of a grip and they're like, I'm gonna grip the crap out of it, right? just like a baseball bat or anything else. We want to just naturally grab the grip like this. Well, that's not what you need to do. If you've known anybody, or maybe yourself, that has ever got string burn on their forearm, it's probably because you grip the crap out of it like this. Look at that, that string is resting on my forearm. We don't want that. I don't want you to get hit by the string on a 70-pound bow. That is gonna hurt like crazy. Okay, so what you need to do, instead of gripping it like this, is do a 45-degree angle with your wrist. Okay, and I just rest either the 2 fingers or 3 fingers on the riser here. And what that does, that pushes this elbow out. Okay, it pushes your elbow out, gets it away from the string, and you're not gonna get string burn anymore. Okay, this is gonna take that out of the equation, and it's gonna allow you to have a nice grip on the bow. Also, what this is gonna do, it's gonna eliminate torque on the riser from you gripping it like this. Okay, you can imagine if you have a real tight grip on the bow, your bow is gonna be torquing all kinds of different ways. Like this, the only pressure is right there in the palm of your hand, between your thumb and your pointer finger. That is all we're doing. We're resting that in there. We're gonna get it up in the curvature right here. Just like if you were shooting a gun, you want it as high up as possible. And we're gonna get it right there in between our thumb and pointer finger. And it's essentially just gonna rest in there. We're gonna get our fingers, either 2 or 3 on the riser there. And that is gonna get us a nice 45-degree angle, and it's gonna get us settled in there really nice for a grip. All right, so now we talked about our stance and our grip. Now let's talk about the pull. Okay, when it comes to pull, this is more mechanics than anything. I've seen a lot of people where they try to pull like this. Okay, don't do it that way, guys. Don't kill yourself. I love the video that Cameron Haynes had where he takes Mark Bell out, which is a big power lifter, and he can't even pull his bow back because it's mechanics, guys. It's not all about brute strength. It's about mechanics. Okay, so what I like to do when I pull back my bow is actually focus. I'll kind of bring my bow up. I have this arm bent, and then this arm is obviously bent too. And then I push with the front, and I'm pulling with this arm too. Focus on squeezing your back. Kind of like if you were at the bottom of bench press, about to push out. It's kind of the same way. So I'm down like this, and I'm just pushing back with both. Okay, so pushing out with this front one, pulling with the back one. Okay, and you just settle into an aim. All right, so what we do with this back arm, you have a couple different options. There are some people that like it low, and then they come up. So this is all kind of based on people's perceptions of shoulder injuries. Okay, so shoulder low, people like that because the rotator cuff is not high up here and exposed. But I don't really like a low draw, just for the fact that I don't think it feels that natural. So I like to actually have elbow up and I fall in like this. It feels a lot more natural to me, and I feel like it's a lot safer. I don't feel like my shoulder has as much stress on it. I feel like if I'm like this, that's a lot more strain on my shoulder rather than coming down and settling in. Because it's really not putting any stress on your rotator cuff. You're just kind of pulling back and settling down into place. You do a couple full draws here so you can see the pull. I'm gonna do it both ways. So this is the low pull, kind of just straight back. Focusing on the grip, focusing on stance. Okay, and this is gonna be with the elbow high. Okay, so that's what we're looking for with our pull. Okay, the next thing that kind of goes with your pull is gonna be an anchor point. So one of the ways that you can stay consistent with all of your shots is going to be getting a good anchor point. And what that is when we're at full draw, we're going to find a place on our face where we can hit it every single time with the string. Okay, so for example, this is going to be for me. Okay, so I have my release kind of in the corner of my mouth. I'm touching the string with the side of my nose, and back here, I kind of have my thumb resting right behind my ear, kind of on my neck. Okay, and I'm just settled in. What you want to do is replicate that every single time. So I have the string coming across the side of my nose, down the side of my face here, and that release is kind of resting right in the corner of my mouth. They make things called a kisser button that you can actually put on your string, and you can put that in the corner of your mouth right here. That way you're consistent every single time. So that is going to help you stay consistent. That way you can replicate shots every single time, because if you're using a different anchor point every single time, you are going to be throwing shots all over the place. Okay, so stay consistent, find a good anchor point. Okay, when it comes to aiming, okay, aiming is one of those things that is going to take a lot of time to get used to. This isn't like shooting a gun. There is something called target panic, and I suffer from it just like everybody else does. But there are ways to overcome target panic. Okay, so what target panic is when you're at full draw, and you're coming to rest on the target. You know, I find myself trying to dance around the actual spot I'm trying to shoot, and it kind of gets worse from there. So what I like to do is actually start out high and then come down into the target and then slowly squeeze that trigger. And one thing you want to keep in mind, the whole time I'm drawing back, I don't even have my finger near the trigger. Okay, so just like a gun, don't have your finger on the trigger until you're ready to actually squeeze a shot off. Okay, and this is just a basic trigger style release. So that's another thing you're gonna have to have if you're getting into archery, is a good release. Unless you plan on shooting instinctively, which most people don't, where they're shooting with their fingers. Okay, I suggest this little True Fire release, and this was like 25 bucks. Okay, so the basis of aiming is we have our pins here, and this is what we're going to use to aim, and this is what comes on just about 90% of bows. They're going to have these pins. So I set up my top pin for 20, second for 30, third for 40, and fourth for 50. Okay, you can set it up for different ranges depending on what you want, guys. The thing about this, you can adjust this however you want, whatever suits your needs. Okay, I'll never take a shot past 50 yards, so I'm not going to set up pins any more than 50 yards. Essentially, all we're doing with this type of pin setup is we are going to use that top pin. Say we're taking a 20-yard shot, we're going to use that top pin. We are going to put that dead in the center of your peep sight. Okay, and this is typically what people are going to use for aiming. They'll have a peep sight, and then they have their sight. Okay, what you want to do at full draw, you're going to see a complete circle looking through your peep sight. This is another reason you need a good bow tech to set your bow up and make sure your peep sight is where it needs to be depending on your draw length. Okay, they can slide this up and down and then lock it into place like this one is. So at full draw, you're going to be looking through this peep sight with your dominant eye, and then you're going to line that pin, whichever pin you're going for, right in the center of that. And then that is going to be how you aim. It's like a gun, guys. If you're using a scope, that crosshair, you're going to line that up on your target, squeeze that trigger, and release that shot. Same way here. Lining your peep sight up with whatever pin you're going for, and you're going to squeeze the trigger nice and easy and fire that shot off. You see that peep sight, how you would be looking through it? Okay, when it comes to the trigger pull, it's kind of like a gun too. You want to squeeze nice and easy. Don't be real jumpy with it, where you're like, okay, where you pull it really fast. Don't do that. You can actually get these triggers tuned a little bit. This one actually has a little tuning adjustment right there, so you can decide how far back that is going to break, and it's going to make it a little bit more sensitive. Okay, so if you like a gun that has a very, very light trigger, is the same exact way. But what you want to do when you're ready to fire off a shot is get your finger onto the trigger, and you're going to be aiming, and you're just going to squeeze nice and easy until that trigger breaks. Okay, that's going to ensure you're not jumping off target, and that's going to ensure your aim stays on target until that arrow is released. Okay, we're going to take a few shots here, and I'm going to show you everything from the beginning. First of all, you're going to get your good stance. You're going to get a good grip. Make sure your elbow is out of the way. Okay, either use your low or high pull. And then you're going to focus on pushing, pulling with this arm, settling into a good anchor position. You're going to line whichever pin with the middle of your peep sight. When you're ready to fire an arrow, get your finger on the trigger and then release the arrow. Kind of the last thing we're looking for is the follow through. And what the follow through is kind of how you end your shot. Okay, so pay attention to the very end of the shot. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of people at the end of their shot, they just let their bow rotate like that. And what that is because they don't want any torque on the bow, so they're just kind of holding it. And then after the shot, it just kind of rotates in their hand there. You don't have to do that. I kind of just grip on the bow just a little bit. It's all kind of personal preference. All right, so you can have a follow through kind of how you want, but just keep in mind, don't put too much torque on the bow at the very end of the shot. This is going to be the last shot we take. Look at the mechanics once again. Kind of a good pull back here. Settling in at a good anchor point, get a good grip. Squeeze the trigger, nice and easy. Don't worry about target panic, just stay on target and release that shot. All right guys, that's all we have for today. I hope you liked this video. We talked about a lot of different stuff. We talked about how to get the right draw weight, the draw length, get it all set up nice for you before you even start taking shots. We talked about how to get a good stance, grip, a good pull. We talked about an anchor point, giving you really good consistency. We talked about how to aim your bow. Also having a nice trigger with your trigger pull and making sure you're not jerking your shots left or right. And then lastly, we talked about a good follow through. Guys, if you like this video, please leave a like. Also subscribe to the channel, we'd love to have you. And I hope you like this beginner entry level into archery. And this is going to be a series we're doing where we pretty much start you out with how to shoot your bow, how to actually sight your bow in. We're going to be talking about tuning broadheads and different things like that to get you into archery and actually get you out there hunting this year and doing it the right way, guys. So once again, like, subscribe, and guys, keep it blue collar, and thanks for watching.